Good evening. Today I'm going to show you how to use a two-part epoxy. I'm going to be gluing a can opener back together. Now with this can opener, it broke. You can see that this is the handle right here, and it broke apart. And what I'm going to be doing is using the epoxy to put this back together. So it's like this. This backstory behind this, I was trying to open up a can of corn, and I didn't realize how strong I was, and so I broke the handle off of the can opener. But with this two-part epoxy that I'm going to be using, this is made by Gorilla. Epoxy sets in 5 minutes clear. I'm going to be back in action to where I can use this can opener to open up a can of corn so I can eat dinner. So let's get started. Now let's look at what's going on right here. This is the part of the handle. It came off. And so what I'm going to do is I want to bring the handle together just so I can see where I need to be applying the epoxy to put it back together so I can actually glue it. So I'm going to fill this back in so I can see exactly what I need to do. So it's going to fit together like a puzzle. So you have to line it up properly so that you know where to do it. So I'm going to line this up properly so where it fits in securely. I think I found a match right here. And then make sure it sits down there properly. And you'll have to go around. There it goes. So it fits in there properly like this. And this is how it's supposed to be. And then I'm going to take this part, and what I'll do is I'll line this up to make sure that it lines in there evenly. Now the second part of the broken can opener, this part right here, is the easy part because I don't have to fit it in securely. So what I'll do is, now that I know this is where it goes, I'll sit this right here and keep an eye on it so I know where it goes once I put the epoxy on. So what I'm going to basically do is put the epoxy on the plastic part right here and then attach it. So with the epoxy, I have a little bit left in here. This is Gorilla Epoxy, sets in 5 minutes clear. I'm going to be mixing it on this piece of cardboard, and I'm going to be using another piece of cardboard to mix the epoxy together and to apply it onto the can opener handle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Now this is epoxy that I've used before, so it's already been opened. This is just the cap that's on it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cap off. No cap. And then it's a two-part epoxy. There's one side and there's the other. And when you mix it together, a chemical reaction happens to where it will bond things together once it's mixed and then applied. So I'm going to take this and I'll get in a little closer so you can see this. And I'm going to press it on the middle of the cardboard. See, one side is coming out. It's okay for right now. It's just the other side needs to get flowing. The other side started to flow and pressed it down there. And you know, I'm just going to go ahead and finish off this epoxy right here. Maybe I shouldn't have, but hindsight is 20/40, or not exactly sure. So this is done. I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back on there. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it away if I need be. Now, I put a lot of epoxy down here, and it probably more than what I should have. But since I'm at the end of the road, And I'm going to go ahead and mix this together. And you have to make sure you mix it good for about 20 seconds or so, because you want the chemical reaction to work properly. And if it's not mixed, then the chemical reaction won't work properly. So it's better to use perhaps something that doesn't absorb, such as a piece of plastic, sheet of plastic, to mix this the way it doesn't absorb. So once I've mixed that right there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come up to the can opener right here. And I have this aligned so it has to go back in the same fashion place that it is right now. So I have to take this off gently. So once I took this off, I'm just going to practice putting it back on so I know exactly where it goes. Just like that. So practice. And then take this off. Practice. Take it off. So now that I know where it goes, I'm going to go ahead and apply some of the epoxy to it. I'm going to get inside of this. And you don't have to put too much on here, because what happens is once you put it on and you put it back on to the can opener, it's going to spread around. And you don't want too much of this spreading around, because it's excess and it will perhaps be more of a cleanup job afterwards than it is. So I have enough on here. And I want to move sort of quickly, because I don't want the epoxy to start to cure quite yet. So I have it in there right there, so it's against the metal. Okay, you don't want it to stick against the bottom part right down here. So it's against the metal, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll take some epoxy, and then I'll put it along the metal and then on the edges of the can opener. So I have this epoxy, and I put it on the metal. And why I'm doing this is because I'm going to attach the other plastic part to this, and I want to give it enough surface area to where it'll attach to the can opener. So I have enough on there. So what I'll do now is I'll take this part right here, and I'm going to line it up. And did I put it on right? Yeah, I did. Line it up. You want to line it up properly. Properly. For some reason it's not lining up properly like it did before. Maybe I didn't put it on properly. There it is right there. Just a little bit of elbow muscle. Hold it together. And if you can clamp it together somehow, some fashion, I would recommend that. That way you won't have any gaps and it stays in there properly. So I'm going to have this pressing it, and if I can find such as a rubber band or something to keep this intact, I'll do that. So I'm going to hold this together clamped, and I'll get some tape or something and tape this together to where it stays clamped for an extended period of time while it cures. So I'm going to clamp it together. And what I'm going to be using is some Irish tape right here. I have Irish tape. And I'm going to go ahead and take some of this, slice that off. So I'm going to take this part, the Irish tape, and then what I'll do is I'll just simply use the Irish tape to actually form a temporary clamp. And once this dries, I'll let it dry overnight. It'll have a tighter bond on this right here. So take this and go ahead. It's a little sloppy looking, but this is a temporary way of clamping it together to make sure that there's no gaps in there. Now, I put enough glue on here to where if there is a gap, it'll still stay in put, but I want to make it look as clean as possible. So I just clamped it together with 2 pieces of tape on either side, and then come back in the morning, and then I'll see if the job worked. Spin this around a little bit just to make sure that there's no glue down in there. The turning mechanism. All right, let's check on it in the morning. Good night. Good morning. Now the epoxy has dried. I'm going to go ahead and take off the temporary clamp. The temporary clamp that I used was some tape, some Irish tape. So I'm going to peel this off, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and take the tape, peel it back this way. See on this side, you can see a little bit excess. Then I'm going to take the other side, peel that back. If you look at it, there's some excess tape, which I can go ahead and take off. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Give me 1 second. All right, so what you're going to do is you need an X-Acto knife. Now I have a regular X-Acto knife that I could use, or I have a miniature one. So I'll take the miniature one. For some reason it's not holding into place. So I'll take the regular X-Acto knife, and it's a Craftsman X-Acto knife, just in case you're wondering. And I'm going to go ahead and take off some of the excess glue if I can. It's drying up, so I can try to do it. Or you can leave it on if it doesn't bother you, but eventually some of it may chip off and you don't want it to go in your can of corn. But just be careful with it. So I moved it off. See the chip? Glue, the exact glue. Some people can try to sand it to make it blend in a little bit better. But you can see where the crack was, where all the glue, the excess glue is sitting out. You could take X-Acto knife and go along and try to chip that off. Or you could just leave it like that. But it's glued on solidly in place. I can actually use this for opening cans now that it's glued tight using the Gorilla Glue 2-part epoxy. So I fixed the handle with this, which prevented me from spending money to buy another can opener. I can use this to actually buy another can of food. So that is how you use a 2-part epoxy. I used it to glue back a handle on a can opener. This is a Tefal can opener. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks a lot for watching.